Hello and welcome everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. This is my second try of this and I don't have Ropeman IT support available today, so you'll have to let me know if you can't hear me. Welcome, I am Crafty Auntie M, and today we're going to be doing some Friday pie baking. And I do have one special guest, even though Ropeman is not here. Oh, everybody's favorite little dog, Stanley. Hi! And he is distracted because I have a bone for him right here. See that? Say hi. He's like, just give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. You want that? Okay, there you go. All right. And that's how you deal with a dog. All right, so as I said, we are going to be doing some pie baking today. We're going to be doing pie two different ways. The first is a traditional pie, but I'm going to be making it into single pie servings. And then we're also going to be making dough for hand pies. And what's fun about those is that I can get them all created, formed, sealed up, and then throw them in the freezer and thaw them out when I want to make them. So we are going to get started. First of all, the hand pie dough has to chill for about an hour. We're going to get that ready to go. But before that, the regular pie crust, I need to get that butter cut up along with the Crisco ready to go and throw that in the freezer because you want that as cold as possible for when you're making that pie crust. And we're going to pray good thoughts for pie crust because it is something I struggle at. Mine taste just fine, but they always tend to fall apart. So hopefully we can avoid too much screaming and yelling at the pie crust today. And hello, Skillet. Glad you could join me. Thank you for stopping in today. All right, there are a couple different ways we can prep the butter for chilling. You can grate it, which just gets messy, and I don't like it. It's hard on my hands to have to hold something like that. So instead, I am going to take my butter and cube it up into little pieces. So we're going to start with 4 tablespoons of butter. And yes, I have a big scary knife here. Got a little piece of paper I got to make sure I get off of there. No one wants to eat paper with their pie. Ropeman's eating all the pie. Well, you got to save some for me, Ropeman. You can't have it all. That would be selfish. So I just take my butter, and I cut it into little sheets like this. So usually each section into quarters, and then I'll quarter it again, and then from there just kind of chop it up into little pieces. And the butter doesn't have to be cut evenly, just so that it's approximate, because it's going to get broken up more into the pie crust. But this is to just give it a start, because when it's frozen, it's going to be really hard to work with. Sorry for not talking. I tend to be a little silent when I have a knife in my hand. I, like all my fingers right where they are. I don't want to have to spend hours in the emergency room, especially on a Friday night. That doesn't sound like anybody's idea of a fun time. Plus, there was a full moon last night, and anyone who has ever worked in healthcare can tell you the full moons bring out all sorts of weirdness. So no one wants to deal with that. I don't care what you say, Ropeman. It's not all yours. You have to share. Sharing is caring. It's what we tell the dog all the time, that he can't be selfish. Even though right now he's being selfish, eating his bone upstairs away from everybody. All right, so now I've got my butter all chopped up. You can see it in there in a bunch of little pieces. Again, not even, but we're going to break it up even more when we mix it with the flour a little bit later. Next, I'm going to add some shortening. So I do a combination of butter and shortening. It gives you the flakiness from the shortening, but yet that buttery flavor then It's about a 2 to 3, or a 3 parts butter to 2 parts Crisco ratio. So we did 4 tablespoons of butter. We're going to do 2 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon of shortening. It's not exactly a 3 to 2 ratio, but I think it will be just fine. And if Ropeman complains, well, too dang bad. The shortening I do not break up. I just want to get it in here so that it gets nice and cold in the freezer. All right. Now I've got a lovely mess all over my hands. I'm going to go give them a quick wash and I will be right back. Okay, I'm going to get my Crisco put away. I don't need this for anything else today. Why, hello, Stanley. And Stanley the dog is back looking for more, per usual. Right. Now we're going to leave this here because I'm going to have to cut up my next thing of butter too. But for now, I'm going to get this covered and into the freezer. And I do have my dishwasher running. It's pretty quiet, but in case you're hearing any interference, it's probably from that. Let me know, and I'd be more than happy to get it paused so that we can all have a great time, because the dishwasher can run any old time. Isn't that right, Stanley? As he's looking at me, you're home. Why are you not sitting with me on the couch covered in a blanket so that I can sleep? I know your favorite activity is sleep. Yes. All right, into the freezer that goes. All right, our next recipe actually asks for frozen butter. So now I have to chop up 6 tablespoons of very cold butter. So we're going to give that a go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do love that butter comes scored like this. Makes everything so much easier for me. So again, I'm going to follow a very similar process for how I cut this up. And try not to get distracted by the dog. Since this is frozen, I'm going to cut it slightly bigger, mainly because it is a little harder to cut through with my knife, even a very sharp one like the one that I have here. And again, watching fingers, we don't need any trips to the emergency room. Safety first when you're messing with knives. That's why I tell Ropeman he's not allowed to scare me if I'm baking, because you never know what I'm holding on to. One nice thing about the butter when it's frozen, though, is it does not smear quite as much onto my hands and the cutting board. So this is the hand pie dough. This is my first time actually making this version of it, so we're going to give it a try together here. This recipe, she actually suggests making it in a mixer. A lot of times with pie crust, I will make it just with a handheld pastry blender, or you can also use a food processor. So this is the first time I've ever used a mixer to do my pie crust. We'll see if that makes it any easier for me. And yes, Ropeman, your dog wants you, so, you know, when you come home, he'll ignore you as usual. That is the way the pupper works, isn't it? He gets very offended when I'm in the kitchen cooking and not giving him any of it. He thinks all baking and food in the kitchen belongs to him. Don't you? Yeah. And again, I didn't get my cut real even, but it shouldn't matter because the goal of this is just to have it small enough so that it breaks up easily into the flour. Now this recipe calls for only butter, partly because it is a hand pie. It's just a little bit different texture. Kind of think more along the lines of Hot Pockets, or even like when McDonald's would have those little pies. So never had one of them, but I assume it's probably very similar dough to what I am making. All right, so we got our 6 ounces of cold butter, which I just realized I misread as 6 ounces. It's supposed to be, sorry. It is supposed to be 6 ounces, not 6 tablespoons. Each stick is 4 ounces, so I actually need a heck of a lot more butter for this. So, all right, we're going to correct my mistake. See, good thing I picked up on this early. So I'm actually going to swap. This is refrigerated butter. It's not quite cold enough. I've got frozen stuff. All right. We'll get this figured out. All right, so. And on we go to chopping again. And I think I had mentioned, I know I said pie, and I think I said it in my shout outs on Twitter and everything, but we are making apple pie. That is one of my top or most favorite pies. I also am a big fan of blueberry pie. My dad loves peach pie, and you know, it's fine, but I just would rather have apple or blueberry on any old day. So until this stick of butter's not been out of the freezer very long, so it's not cutting quite as nice, but again, that's okay. We don't need it to be perfectly even for this, as long as we're not chopping off any fingers, which is why I'm keeping my left hand on top of the knife instead of down beside it, so that I avoid any lost fingers. So this last half a stick of butter kind of almost shattered. It was still so frozen. It's okay. It says cold. That just means it's nice and cold. And man, if you're wondering where Stanley is, he's right at my feet, so I have to be careful not to step backwards and trip over him. Okay, now we have the right amount of butter. And get all of that goodness in here. Okay, another quick hand washing. Excuse me, Stanley. Okay, put this butter away. I don't need it. That can be used for something else later. All right, so we've got our butter all prepped here. Now we just need to measure our flour and our salt. So for the flour, we are going to weigh that. I'm going to go ahead and get my bowl for that. So some recipes will give you a combination. They'll say like, 12 ounces and how many ever cups that approximately is. This recipe does not. It just says 12 ounces of flour. So we're going to zero this out and get this changed over to ounces for weight. There we go. And then we have our thing of flour. Again, I always measure with a scoop so that I'm not compacting my flour. Okay, yeah, I see that rope. I am not sure why that's not working. I made sure to open up my elements, so maybe I'm just going to have to keep playing with this in the future, unless this works. Nope, still no good. Drew, I have a conversion chart. Yeah, that works too. That's one thing I've never invested in is a conversion chart like that. So I'm not sure. Hi, Aki. You want pie. I think Ropeman wants pie too. He's probably trying to rush through the rest of his day at work so that he can get home and have some of this pie, but unfortunately, pie takes a little while to cool off, although I suppose I could make use of the outdoor refrigeration that we have in our garage. Let's see. 99 cents from antique shops. Yeah, I probably could even just find something on Amazon that would convert it, but I have the scale, so I'm willing to use it. And it looks like I am out of flour here.
I come in peace.
Oh. Well, at least my sound alert worked. Something worked on this stream. I'm going to have to figure out that whole chat thing. Maybe I'm just using a bad program for it. I think I used something different than Ropeman did, and I thought I was being all cool, doing something unique, and, well, I can see how that went. So I think I had said last time I like to use just regular all-purpose flour. I buy big bags of it from Costco at a time, and then I have giant 2-gallon Ziploc bags. I just put this in between uses so that my flour doesn't get anything in it. And I always try and empty my flour container before I put anything new in it, and that's mainly just in case there is a recall. That way I know when my which flour is affected and I don't have to guess. We're just going to fill this up. Try not to spill everything on the countertop. Hey, Valkyrie. Glad to have you join us. Yeah, I don't have any foot-long songs for you. Maybe one of these days I can add one of those in for you. Ropeman seems to get great enjoyment playing those. All right. I clearly underestimated how much 12 ounces of flour would get, but I think we're okay. We're almost there. Oop, now we're a little over. All right, there we go. 12 ounces of flour. Just going to shove that handle down in here, close this up, because we're going to use that later. Yeah, I was hoping, Valkyrie, by doing maybe an earlier stream on Fridays, I could catch some of overseas friends that we've made, make it a little easier for you to check in on my lovely cooking adventures. All right, so we've got our flour measured. We're going to put that in my bowl. Set that aside. I've got flour all over the countertop now. It's fine. We're gonna repeat what Ropeman says. It's fine. A little bit of a mess didn't hurt anybody. I always tell my nieces and nephews when I'm baking with them, you know what? A good cook makes a mess. A great cook will clean it back up. So now, since I am working with flour and it's starting to fly, I'm going to put on my apron just to keep flour from getting all over myself. And this actually is a very special apron to me. My grandma made me this probably 15 years ago. She passed away back in 2020, so it is definitely an apron that I'm going to take very good care of because there's not another grandma apron. Good wife. Yeah. I was reading the time zone here. Yeah, it is. It's just tough to be in a different time zone with all of this. Who wants to do a 6 a.m. stream? Ugh, I'm barely awake. Oops. Sorry about that. Little bit of technical difficulties with my mouse pad, but there we go. We're all back. Okay, we've got our flour. Next up is salt, and 1/4 teaspoon salt. I don't know, I plan to be still asleep, I hope, at 6 a.m. Saturday morning, unless, of course, Stanley the dog demands things, because that little dog, he gets an idea in his head, and that's about it. You can't let it go. All right. We've got our salt, our flour, our butter in here. I'm going to go ahead and get this hooked up. Secure that. And give it a mix. So it's going to mix for a little bit. Right now we're trying to get the flour to break down a little bit further. And basically we want to get this to kind of look like some really coarse sand. While that's going though, I am going to get my egg and my water ready. Now for water, you want very, very cold, so I just took it straight from my fridge. If you don't have refrigerator water, you can just get some ice water ready to go. Keep it in your fridge, whatever you need to do to keep that chilled there. That's not quite ready. I've got my egg is also going to go in there. So it's a very basic recipe. Flour, salt, butter, egg, and a little bit of water. So I always break my eggs into a container just in case it's a bad egg. I hate to ruin good dough or whatever it is I'm working on that day. Right. Just going to turn it up a little bit, get that butter to break down a little bit more. And as I said, this is the first time I've done this method, so I'll be curious to see how it works. Oh, hi, Molly Style. Oh, how do I request Stanley gets a treat? Well, I don't have points yet for my channel. Stanley did get a treat initially, though. However, I think I could arrange a milk bone for him. Stanley! Does the puppy want a treat? Yeah? Come here. People are asking for you. And there he is. There is the pupper. As requested, Molly. See? Look. Aki, yeah. Stanley. See, you're popular. I think people want to see you more than they want to see me or Roadman when we stream. You want that? Huh? You want that? There you go. And he's off. That dog is going to get fat because of streaming. Yeah, that's why we stick with small treats for the most part. And he's chewing that up really quick. All right. Well, that actually worked out pretty darn good because we now have our dough, and it looks pretty darn good here. So I'm going to actually pull it closer for everyone and kind of see. I know it's not a perfect visual. I got a little bit of shadows in there, but it does kind of look like a little bit of coarse sand here. So I'm going to pop this back on. And then we're going to add our egg. You ate it already? There's that. So now she says just enough water for making sure that it is got a little bit of moisture in it and it starts to come together. So we're just going to add it a little bit at a time. You get your pie dough a little too moist and then it just doesn't roll into a good shape. Too dry, it cracks. So it is a very delicate balance. My sister is fantastic at finding the exact right balance. I don't know what it is. She has just got the magic touch when it comes to pie crusts. But we all have our strengths. Mine is I can pretty much make any bread dough work. And here it's getting a little bit thicker here. It's getting a little harder for my mixer to turn that around. A little bit more here. Just a little bit more. It's just a touch dry. Try that. I think that looks about good. It's got some good clumping action there. All right. So, Rope Man, I'm sorry. I'm a single woman for a few minutes here. I just don't like to get my rings full of pie crusts or dough of any sort. What am I getting in trouble for? I never make you bread. Never. They seem to recall making you sourdough rye bread 2 weeks ago, and you still have some in the freezer. Oh, bull honky Rope Man. Cry me a river. You get bread plenty. Just because it's not the rye bread that you always are begging for, which I believe I made you for Christmas, or I've made you rye bread recently, so don't come crying to everyone in chat. Rope Man gonna get whooped. He's always trying for something like that. What can I say? He likes to live dangerously. Just gonna get all of this off of here. So, kind of see it's all nice and clumpy there. He doesn't deserve my bread. Hey, Dirt Knobs, glad you could join us. I know it's probably a little awkward time for you as far as time of the day. Remember, stream the beating for everybody. Well, I don't want to get banned by beating Rope Man on camera. I think that would be bad for everybody. Plus, I'm a nurse, so me getting video out there beating my husband, probably not so good for the nursing license. I don't think my employer would really appreciate that either. All right. I do like to remind Rope Man, though, that as a nurse, I'm legally allowed to stab people for a living, so you do got to be careful. Perfect gentleman, Rope Man. Uh-huh. No one in chat here believes that. Nobody. Not even a little bit. All right. So, we've got, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I've taken my pie dough. I've kind of flattened it into a nice round disc. I can still see some of the butter in there, which is actually good. You want that. So you want that butter to kind of bake into layers once we get it rolled out. So now we're just going to cover that up and throw that in the fridge for an hour. All right. Set a timer on my watch so I know when an hour is up, because I tend to lose track of time easily, unfortunately. Stanley is looking for crumbs per usual. All right, 60 minutes on the timer. I'm going to get this put away because I'm not going to use this for my next pie crust. All right. Get some of my flour wiped up here. Now that we've got that pie dough chilling, we're actually going to make the filling for it before we move on to the next pie crust. This one requires a cooked filling, so I want it to have plenty of time to cool off before I form the pie doughs in a little bit. Hey, Stanley. Let's see. I'm going to hit you with the shoe or a car. I haven't decided yet. Whoa. Let's see. We're gonna allow this just because I do find it rather amusing, and I do want Ropeman to be forewarned. There we go. Speaking of being stabbed surgery. Oh, he let you push the propofol. Wow. That's impressive. I just usually ask when I'm going for surgery, I'm like, okay, now what med are you giving me? And they kind of look at me funny, and I just tell them, like, I'm a nurse, I know these names. And they usually tell me, oh, it's the propofol. I'm like, okay, well, nighty-night, nice talking to you. I'm not going to remember anything after that. Knocked yourself out. That's impressive. I don't know if I'd want to knock myself out like that. But then again, I'm also the person who I don't like to look when I get my IVs or lab draws, and we're just going to stop talking now because otherwise Ropeman's going to start getting queasy, and, you know, I don't want him to faint at work or anything. Hey, Vaping! Glad you could join us. Never had a major surgery. I've only had one fairly major surgery. Luckily it was laparoscopic, so it wasn't too bad. Honestly, I vaguely remember going into the OR, and then the next thing I know, I'm waking up in the recovery room. So I think they did a pretty good job. Hi, yeah, excuse me. Right. Just going to get a few things put away here before we move on to making some pie filling. And if anyone hears skittering at any point, it's usually Stanley getting into things he's not supposed to and getting scared then when he hears a loud noise. Yeah, I told your secret to everybody. Okay. So now we're going to get our pie filling. I am actually using some pie filling that I froze myself. It's just about a year old, maybe a little bit more. Ropeman and I went apple picking about a year ago, and so I bought some apples that are supposed to be good for baking. I couldn't tell you what it is I bought. At this point, it's been so long, and I didn't label them, but we're going to use those today. You could also use fresh or canned. Pretty much anything goes with this. So I've got my apples here, and when I put them in here, it was about 4 cups of apples. Adding those. little bit of lemon juice. Excuse me, puppy. So she says 2 tablespoons. I don't like that much lemon juice, so we're going to cut that down a little bit. We're just going to do 1 tablespoon. Nice thing with pie filling is you can adjust the flavoring to how you want it. There's my tablespoon. But I'm not going to put that in right now. First, I need my butter. And we need 2 ounces, or 1 ounce of butter, rather. Okay. All right, 1 ounce of butter equals 2 tablespoons. So I've got my 2 tablespoons of butter in here. And we're going to go ahead and get that on the stove. Hydration. Didn't get near enough of this today at work. Kept me a little bit busier than I was expecting. All right, well, that's heating up. Let's see what's going on in chat here. I wish I could figure out what I did wrong with my image file here. I'm not entirely sure. Nope, not that. That's not what I want. Well, I'm just going to have to figure this out another day. I don't want to disturb anything on here. Let's see. Rope-meister. Let's see here. What do we got? Ooh, we're back to rope being called a boiled goose. Unseasoned boiled goose. Let's see. Unseasoned rope man. Midwest. We do more seasoning than our parents ever did. My mom's family never salted anything, but that was more because her mom couldn't have any salt. She had to have a strict no added salt diet. So I actually grew up not putting salt into basically anything. I had to learn as I got older how to add that in for it. Casserole. Yeah, we did have a casserole this week. We did a tater tot casserole. And even though we are from the great state of Minnesota, I refuse to call it a hot dish. And someone here wanted to say hi. Look, Stanley. Oh, hi. Look at the screen. Good chicken casserole. I don't know anything plain chicken. We'll do chicken and rice casseroles. Hi. Stanley. Yeah. Everyone loves you. Yeah, hi. Thank you. Yeah. Valkyrie would die for you. What do you think? He's like, I would murder people for some cookies. Wouldn't you? Yeah. Thank you. I have to put you down now. I gotta go check my pot. He is a puppy whore. We know that, though. You would also murder for some cookies. Well, Stanley actually has his own cookies in the freezer. There we go. Just kind of adjusting that. Let you see me here. There we got some butter meltage. Just giving it a little stir here. Okay, well that's going. I'm going to get my other ingredients that I'm going to add in there ready to go. I've already measured out my lemon juice. What else do I need in there? So we add in some water. And we actually need to mix our water with cornstarch. That's what's going to thicken the pie dough, or pie filling, so that it doesn't ooze out everywhere as we are cutting it open. So I just need an ounce of water, which is not very much. I'm going to get a different measuring cup. So water twice. So I need 6 ounces of water in here. There's my 6 ounces. Need 1 more ounce. Yes, puppies. All right, so I need 2 tablespoons of water to go in here. Ooh. What was that, Valkyrie Crafty? Vaping called me a Mario? No, you're not Mario or Luigi. Neither are you, Stanley. I'm not letting you outside, though. I don't have time to wipe you off. It's too muddy out. And you were just out a half hour ago. You're fine. All right. Well, now they're telling me to measure out the cornstarch, so here we go again. Get my scale. Oh, Wario, that's even worse. Wario is awful. Waluigi isn't very good either, but ugh, Wario, gross. She was going to throw banana peels at you. It seems more like something Donkey Kong would do. Not that you're Donkey Kong, but I would get the correlation of throwing bananas more from Donkey Kong. Yeah, I see that here. Trying to see if I can... No vaping, I said she is not Donkey Kong. Let's see, can I... Might need your help there, Rope, with the chat. Is that ad bot up there? Vaping, I hope you stub your toe. Stubbing the toe hurts. That's painful. Not gonna lie. So, Ropeman, there was a bot, an ad bot that popped on here. I was going to try and block it, but I don't think I'm in the right screen. NVSD2, if you were able to get that out of there. We don't need that. All right. Sorry, half an ounce here. There we go. Actually, I'll leave that there because I need that later. All right, making a little cornstarch slurry. This is what's going to help thicken up our pie filling. All right, so I need some sugar and some salt. Another 1/4 teaspoon of some salt. And it's seriously going to make me measure out some more sugar here. All right, we'll get there. We'll get there. And they say white or brown sugar. I'm going to go with white sugar. It's what I traditionally put into my pie filling anyway. She's going for quite a bit here. She's saying 2 ounces. I'm going to go 1 1/2. I don't need my pie filling to be quite that sweet. There we go. Ooh, what pie? We're going to do an apple pie. We're doing hand pies, which are kind of like a turnover type pie, and then we've got our standard, your traditional pies that I'm making today. And yes, I've got Stan the man here begging for some camera time, but I'm sorry, puppy. I've got some baking to do. Give me a few minutes. Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, water. There's my sugar. My salt. And she doesn't call for this, but we're going to add a little bit of cinnamon to it. I like some cinnamon in my apple pie filling. Mint and ginger. Yeah. Never tried that. I could see that being good. Definitely an apple cinnamon person. All right, give this a bit of a stir in the pot and get this simmering. Now I'm going to have my back turned for just a little bit while I do this. I don't want to get my pie filling overcooked here. Almost forgot the lemon juice. In you go. All right, give that a minute here to thicken up. Let's see, what did I miss? Anything? All right, yeah, thanks for stopping in, Tanner. Appreciate it. Vaping is invoking lawyer Dr. Boiled Goose, please. Dr. Boiled Goose to the chat if you can. I think vaping might need some legal advice to save him here. All right. I get my bearings here, making sure I know what I'm doing next. Okay. Basically, we simmer, we add cornstarch, we cook it till it's clear, and then it's ready to go. It just needs to cool before we can use it. I think I am officially done, though, with the scale now, so I'm going to put that aside. All right. Canadian goose. No Canadian geese here. Ugh. Those things are like rats with legs. They're evil. We have a little pond about three houses down from us, and geese like to live there and poop all over our sidewalks and fly over our house. It's rather creepy when they start walking through our yards. Oh, I hear boiling. There we go. All right. Now I've just got to let it cook till it's clear. And we should have some delicious pie filling for later. I know I'm excited to try these out, although I'm not entirely sure when we're actually going to bake these since the hand pies are going to get frozen for later use. But, I mean, I liked the idea of like pie on demand essentially from it. Just take it out of the freezer, probably. She doesn't really say how long, but I'm going to assume like the morning I want pie. And then you can either bake it, air fry it, or if you really want to get crazy, you can deep fry it. I don't have a desire to deep fry it, but I definitely could see myself air frying it. I love to air fry things like that. All right, give this a few more minutes. It's getting close. And we get to move on to pie number 2. So we are doing that, air fry that pie, yes. Canada gooses, as long as you don't have gray ducks. And that's a whole thing here in Minnesota. Is it duck, duck, goose? Minnesota believes it's duck, duck, gray duck. That's just, ugh. Ropeman's leaving the office. Okay, well, he's going to be out of the chat for about 15-20 minutes while he drives home and probably goes to the post office. So I'm trying to figure out, what did we say? Did I say Canadian geese wrong? That's how I say it. Oh, Cairo and Booze Store for Ropeman. Okay, so it'll be more like an hour before we see him. So we should be well on our way to pies baking by the time he shows back up here. Let's see. Almost there. I think the cinnamon makes it a little harder to be clear, but it's pretty darn close. All right. Just gonna slide that onto the back there. Keep it out of the way. Let it cool. All right, that is ready to go. We have about 40 minutes left on our pie crust in the fridge. Chat, behave. Nah, we don't have to listen to you, Ropeman. See, I don't even listen to him vaping, so you're fine. I give you permission not to listen to him. Although if you do misbehave, I'll just boot you out. But living with Ropeman, I'm pretty tolerant. Okay. Get my recipe out here for my apple pie. So, these are the pie plates we're going to be filling for the regular apple pies. I did some measurements. They're probably about 4 to 5 inch pie crusts and take about a half a cup of filling in there. So I actually had a bag of apples that was about 2 cups. So I think that should be just about perfect. I'm going to make a pie crust recipe. This is going to be a 2 crust pie, but since they're smaller, I'm thinking about a half a recipe. So we're just going to make enough pie dough for 1 crust and go from there. Hopefully it turns out. We shall see. It's the first time I've ever used these little mini pie plates. So I'm excited to give them a try. Mainly 1 like regular size pie. It's way too much, Ropeman, and I cannot eat it all before it starts to get soggy. So we're hoping this might be a great option because we figure 4 pies, 2 meals each, and you're probably about done with wanting pie at that point anyway. All right, preheat oven to 425. All right, got that going. My oven top does get pretty warm, so I'm going to actually move my pie filling off to the side so that it actually has a chance to cool. Okay, I'm gonna slide you guys back here a little bit. Hydrate a little bit. Gotta stay hydrated, especially while I'm baking. I have a bad habit of just ignoring everything else while I'm doing that. Let's see. Was it pies in a muffin pan? I think I have heard of that before. Just never tried it, actually. So maybe one of these days, especially if this turns out to be a little bit too much work to do. We shall see. I like to experiment with baking tools. Part of what drives Rope nuts, because that's how I end up with all of these baking things in the house. Okay, flour. So I need a cup of flour as it poofs all over me. So again, I like to measure, scoop in here. You're supposed to use a knife to brush it off, but I just kind of level it off with my scoop. Got that. Now I need a half a teaspoon of salt. Let's see. Make extra little pies to throw at Rope Band. That would be a stream. But vaping, that would be a horrible waste of pie. Do I only use cast iron? I do actually have cast iron skillets, but I use them for very specific things. If I'm like if I'm just kind of cooking ground beef, I'll do that in there. I'll make hamburgers in them. I'll do steaks in them every once in a while. The Rope Man prefers to play with fire on the grill when we make steaks, so I let him have his fun outside. That's one of his big contributions to cooking, is he does handle most of the grilling in our house. All right. We've got our shortening and our butter that has been chilling in the freezer. Get that in here. All right, now we're going to test the strength of my hand by using my handheld pastry blender. So, pastry blender, this is all it is. And just push it down into the butter and the shortening, moving it around in here to, again, you kind of want to get it to that wet sand, or wet coarse sand look. So you can kind of see, not there yet, but we're going to keep going with it. Stanley seems to have ran off. Hopefully that means he's resting and not causing trouble somewhere. I love the little guy, but he's like a toddler, and if he's quiet for too long, usually means he did something he is not supposed to. Oh, you thought those were potato mashers. I guess you could technically use it as a potato masher, but actually I'll show you my potato masher. Oops, did I throw things around? So this is my potato masher, although I will be honest, I've been converted to using a potato ricer. It actually gets your potatoes much more finely mashed, and then you add a bunch of cream and butter to them, and those are spot-on mashed potatoes, so I actually don't even use this a whole lot anymore. But potato masher, I'll use it for smashed avocado too. You ain't my mom. Yeah, vaping, if you want to throw good pie at Rope Man, you are more than welcome to. I think I might cry if I had to ruin pie that way. My dad appreciates pie way too much. I think he would figure it out and cry if he found out I threw a pie at Rope Man. And growing up on a farm, Dad could come up with some very creative ways to deal with that. So we're not going to go there. Oh, you like the skins and the chunks? Hey, go for it. Everybody likes their own thing. There's some people who don't even like mashed potatoes. On his way to get some more natty ice. I actually don't know what he's planning to get at the liquor store today. I thought he kind of had everything he needed, so maybe he wanted some other good beer, like, some of those IPAs he likes to drink. Hey, Lemon, welcome on in. Glad you could join us. There you go, everyone. Welcome on into Lemon. Appreciate you checking us out. We're in the middle of pie baking and debating the pros and cons of throwing good pie at Ropeman. Ooh, thank you for the raid. Appreciate it.
Y'all ready for this?
Woohoo! Glad to have you in, Valkyrie. Yep, nice. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. Glad you could join me as well. Hopefully we'll be doing this about once a week on Fridays or Saturdays. Not entirely sure. Still kind of trying to figure everything out. Eventually I'm going to start doing some like crafting type stuff, but I'm still working on how to set everything up in a point where I'm comfortable. Stanley can still join me because his favorite thing to do when I'm crafting is sit on my lap and let y'all see what I am doing. So let's see, where are we at here? I think we got a good mixture there. You can see I've got kind of some coarse sand appearing pie dough. We are making apple pie today. Two different kinds, kind of your traditional two-crust mini pies. And then we've also got some pie dough already chilling for hand pies, which it kind of resembles a turnover for those of you who aren't familiar with them, or kind of like a sweet empanada, if you've had empanadas before. Those I'm excited about because we're actually not going to even bake them. We're going to freeze them and then have them ready to go for the future when I want pie. All right, time to add some water here. And again, very cold water. Probably way more than I need, but we're just going to actually swap that out. I'm going to get a fork. It's much easier to do that way. All right, time to mix in the water. So about a tablespoon at a time is what you want to add in. Yeah, top-down camera, I agree. That is something that I've been talking to Ropeman about. Got to look into some of those options for the setup. Generally, when I'm doing like crocheting and stuff, I usually just sit in a big old recliner. Stanley jumps up on my lap, crawls under the blanket that I'm kind of wrapped up in, and he takes a snooze. Tiny! Thank you for joining. Glad to see you. We're making pie. Oh, I said we're making pie, and all of a sudden I heard a ka-thump, ka-thump, ka-thump from Stanley. So we're going to have a Stanley viewing here in just a few minutes. Hi, Stanley. Yeah, we're talking about you. Woohoo. Oh, looks like Ropeman must be at a pausing point in his quest for alcohol and chiropractic adjustment. A little bit more. So again, it's a delicate balance with pie crust, getting enough water in there that it's going to stick, but not so much that it's so sticky that you can't manage it. And we are getting really close to that amount. So as I'm adding the water, I'm just going to add a little bit more at a time, making sure I don't get too much. So then I got to add flour, and then it gets tough, and you know, I like my pie crust to be nice and light and fluffy. What are you doing, Stanley? He's scrounging for crumbs, if anyone was wondering. It's his favorite thing to do in the kitchen is to look for things that I drop. I usually don't have a speck of food on the floor in my house while he's around. Oh, you want out? Give me 1 minute. Let me finish this, and then I'll let you out. Let's see. Yeah, I think I got that about where I want it. I'm going to go let Stanley out, and then we're going to get started rolling this pie crust out. There you go. I tell you, Stanley is loving this warm-up that we are having right now. So it is about a balmy, 41 degrees here in Minnesota, which may not seem that warm to some of you, but a week ago it was minus 10 degrees, so we're enjoying this a lot. Troutman just got in his car. Okay, that's what it is. He hadn't gone anywhere yet. So right now I'm keeping an eye out for Stanley before I start rolling out any dough. It's fairly muddy in our yard with all the meltage that we've had, and it's been just like a hazy, foggy drizzle for the last 3 days. So the fact that we can actually see more than a mile or two out in the distance is pretty nice today. But it just means I got to wipe him off really good when he comes back in. There he is. Here. You want to go back on camera? Yeah. And as promised, a Stanley sighting. Say hi, puppy. Yeah, hi. Say hi to the stream while I wipe you down. Yeah, I know you hate when I wipe you down. He does not like being wiped down at all, whether it's after a bath or after being outside. Yeah, you don't get any of that. No. Okay, there you go. No, you've had treats. You're fine. Just gonna give my hands a quick wash. Okay. Do I need anything from the booze store? You're getting Busch Light? Why? We don't need that junk. But if you're going to drink it, that's fine. I won't drink it. It's like drinking nothing. So, all right. So for rolling pie crust, ignoring Rope that he's thirsty, I have this little silicone mat that I got from Amazon. A little flour on the back here. So the back of it, it's got just enough static that actually sticks to my granite countertops and doesn't move. And then all along the borders, it has one side with markings in centimeters, the other side with marking in inches, basically rulers on the side. And then the center has circles measuring out how big your circle is. I don't even know if I've seen that in our liquor stores. Uh-oh. I think I might have my chat settings a little bit high here. I keep getting questionable things here. Let's see. Please no veggie. All right, well, we're going to allow this here. Puppy, no, you're fine. Sorry, I've got a Stanley. Full transition into a hillbilly has happened. To be fair, Busch Light is the beer of our people in Iowa. That is pretty much the beer of choice at all college parties and everything like that. So he's just reverting back to his roots. Hello. Lana Walking, glad to have you join us. Welcome on in. Welcome to the stream. We're getting ready to roll out some pie crusts. Once I get things kind of set up here, I'll adjust the camera so you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing. Right now, though, just getting some flour down. So I just tend to sprinkle it over my mat here. Let's see. Getting some stuff moved. Excuse me, Stanley. Stanley's very offended that he's not getting attention paid to him like he normally does. All right, got my pie dough. She might have gotten just a touch too much water in there. It's okay. We'll be fine. We'll make it work. Miller High Life like a true gentleman. I would rather have Miller than a Busch Light. I'd also rather drink Coors Light than a Busch Light. Granted, though, I don't think I've had either in a very long time. And I'm actually going to separate my pie crusts into two sections. So I'm going to have my first one that I'm going to roll out for the base of the pie plates, and then I'll have the second one that I'll use as a top part. Let's see here. Bring you on in a little bit closer. Let you see the magic. Or my nemesis, as I like to say. Me and pie crust just have never got along. Part of the reason why I don't make them for Rope Man is I usually end up doing a lot of cursing and yelling and sometimes end up having to make multiple attempts at it to get what I want. Drew, you're too close to Canada and they have better beer. I don't know. I tend to stick with craft beers around here. Minnesota's got a lot of really good craft breweries, so that's generally where I like to stick with my beer drinking. A little more flour. So as I'm rolling out the dough, I like to flip it up and down just to keep flour on it, keep it from sticking. Add a little bit of flour to my rolling pin if I need it. And I can still see little chunks of butter in here, which you do want. So that is perfectly acceptable. Oops. Pie dough has a lot of stretch to it today. And I may have underestimated how much pie dough I actually need. Let's just see here. Excuse me, Stanley. Use a pizza wheel here and see if I can properly estimate the amount of pie dough this is going to need. And if I don't have enough dough here, I have a backup solution. We can do more of a Dutch apple pie and put a streusel on top, which is also very delicious. There we go. Pie crust. Yeah. It was a touch small, but I can work with it. Not the worst situation in the world. So, pie number one. Ooh, that a good brewery's down here. I believe it. Nation, I don't think I've ever heard that one. Ohio State? Are you from Ohio? I'm a Hawkeye personally, or a Hawkeye fan growing up in Iowa. I also worked at the University of Iowa Children's Hospital for a number of years, so they are definitely near and dear to my heart down there. Might have to get a little creative with this. Ooh, Ropeman's off to the beer store. People pray for our credit cards. No, I'm not actually that worried about it. Oops. Ropeman's pretty responsible when it comes to buying his booze. He doesn't tend to overbuy unless he sees a whiskey he really wants. Then, well, all bets are off. Vaping Roll Tide. Oh, it's the SEC. Doesn't cross over that much with the University of Iowa, so I'm good with that. That and, vaping, you're a good old Viking fan like me. You and I can commiserate on those long and painful seasons that we've been exposed to over the years. All right, so I am re-rolling my pie crust now, having realized that I severely underestimated how much pie crust dough I was actually going to need for this, so we shall see. It'll all be good. As Ropeman frequently tells me, my pies all taste just fine. It's just the appearance isn't exactly what I want them to be. There we go. That's a little bit better. Yeah, so we're going to pivot a little bit. Instead of a two-crust pie, we're going to do a little bit more of a Dutch apple pie, and I'll just make a crumble to go on top of these. Which I don't mind at all. I like it. Then it's a little bit more of a combination of an apple crisp and a pie. Haha, football. Hey, Blade, I didn't see you jump in. Thanks for joining us. Glad you could pop on in. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Friday afternoon. All right. Just rolling out some pie crust so that Ropeman and I can have a little bit of dessert later on. There we go. We're getting there. No, still a little small. Let's try that again. Well, it's not an exact science, I guess, with me. Let's see. I see some football chatter there, so I'm a little out of the loop with it, but thank you again all for coming out tonight or today, as it's still the afternoon. It's 4:30 here. We've been going for a little over an hour, and you know what? We've got about 12 or so minutes left on that pie crust that's chilling. It's got to warm up just a little bit, so probably going to get that out of here in just a few minutes. Let that come to room temperature so that it can soften. So I'm a little off-center with my pie crust, making some adjustments. Bringing it up over the edge. There we go. One more to go. 3 down, 1 to go. So, good learning experience. Still need to make like a pie crust and a half recipe for this. I don't know if that's the technical way that you're supposed to form your pie crust, but it works for me. Plus, you know, I can take out my frustration on things by beating it with a rolling pin. Just keep adding a little bit of flour. Don't want to get too much. I don't want to make the dough so floury that I can't roll out, or all you taste is flour then when you go to eat it. Okay. Looks about right. I tend to eyeball my pies. Usually it's, you know, an inch or so wider than your pie plate, varying a little bit depending on how deep it is. Okay. Well, there we go. We have got one so-so pie crust and then 3 more that look pretty darn good if I don't say so myself. Just going to make a few adjustments here on the one that I didn't quite get stretched out as far as I wanted to. It'll be fine once we get that pie filling in there. No one will ever notice anyway. Thanks for the lurk, Blade. I appreciate it. You too, Lana. Appreciate you stopping in. Hope to see you again in future streams as well. I'm getting really new to this. This is only my 2nd stream, so focusing on cooking and baking right now. Ropeman wants me to try to make pierogies. I've never done those before, so we'll see if I pull that rabbit out of the hat at some point for him. I don't know, he might have to be extra nice to get those. All right, we got that. Time for some pie filling. Just looking for a little different pie filling recipe since I'm gonna do my Dutch apple pie topping. I want to use the pie seasonings for that one, which is just basically apple cinnamon, a little bit of salt and sugar. So keeps it pretty darn simple there. All right, get another container. And I'm not going to clean this off at the moment because I'm going to use it again for my other pie crust. So we're just going to rotate a little bit here. There we go. Hello again, everybody. Snake handler. Ugh, I don't even know what that is. I'm assuming it's some type of beer vaping. Definitely not one I'm familiar with. Cleaning up here a little bit so that I can see what I am doing here. All right, we've got the apples. This is about 2 cups of apples here. And they do call for a fair amount of sugar in here, 1/2 cup. All right, well, here we go. Sugar bomb apple pie. That. Now we need some cinnamon. And my beautiful Indonesian cinnamon. This stuff smells so amazing. I absolutely love this variety. Good. And then just a little bit of salt. A full recipe calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon. Honestly, it's about like 1/16. It's really kind of just a pinch. So we're going to go with that. Call it good. And then some flour. 1½ tablespoons. So got my 1/2 tablespoon here. This is one time that I do just scoop it out of here with the spoon. I don't measure it. I don't pour it into the container. This part isn't quite as exact for the filling. Just give that a nice stir. We've got and then we'll start filling up our pies and get the streusel on there. Oh, brewery down there vaping. Okay. IPA. Yeah, that would be right up Rope Man's alley. He loves a good IPA. For me, most IPAs are just too hoppy and bitter for me. There's very few that I will actually drink. There is a local brewery here in Minnesota that we like to go to. I think they're Four Horsemen IPA. It's one of the few IPAs I will drink, and that's because it's a very mild hop. Mostly I stick to like my lagers and Kolsch's, pale ales, some stouts. I do like a good peanut butter porter as well in the winter time. All right, got that all mixed up. Now time to fill up the pie plates. Let's see if we can get you guys some action shots here of the pie plates getting filled. So this is where a top-down camera will definitely come in handy for me one of these days as I get this figured out. So I'm just gonna scoop these on in here. Start with a couple of scoops in each. And then just kind of fill in as we go, trying to keep it even. Where's that other one? There we go. Yeah, we'll see how this turns out. I normally do a little bit of a different crust with my Dutch apple pie, so I'm assuming it'll be fine. Oops, I make a mess everywhere. That's okay. Almost there. These are a little bit deeper than I thought they might be. It's okay, a little bit extra fruity filling, never hurt anybody. And since it's a Dutch apple pie, it's not as big of a deal to me if the pie pans aren't as full because the crumble on that Dutch apple is pretty thick, so it kind of takes the place of a lot of this. If you aren't a fan of Blizzard, hazy is the way to go, or New England IPA, okay. I usually just see the word IPA and I shy away from it, so maybe I'll have to give those a try. Expand the palate a little bit. Okay. Those all look pretty good there. All right, next step is we're gonna make our streusel topping. So, not entirely sure how much I'm gonna need to cover these. I don't think I'm gonna need a whole recipe, so we're gonna start with half a recipe. All right, so for half a recipe, you need a 1/4 cup of butter. We have here 2 tablespoons. Need a couple more. Excuse me, Stanley. There's 1 tablespoon. We've just got a hodgepodge of butter all over the place in here. It's a good way to use it. Starting to run out of bowls, so we're just going to use a measuring cup here because I do have to get this butter melted. Right. 3. 1 more tablespoon. Luckily, I saved my knife and cutting board that I was chopping butter on earlier. All right. Get this in the fridge. The microwave, my goodness. Give that a quick microwave there. And while that's going, I'm going to do just a little bit of cleanup here. Okay, pie has fully, or the first pie crusts have fully chilled. They need about 15 minutes to warm up anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get those out of the refrigerator. There we go, one chilled pie crust. Right there to start warming up and softening so that it's easier to manage. Hey, pup. You'll get cuddles later, I promise. Butter's not quite there yet. Give it another 30 seconds and see if we can't get it a little bit firmer. Do need some brown sugar though. Now for this, I'm just going to use basic brown sugar. I know last week in my stream, I was using some organic brown sugar just because it's got a little bit of higher moisture content and makes the cookies a little softer and chewier. Which, for anyone who joined me for that stream, we are down to like 6 snickerdoodles at this point, and I've been informed by Rope Man I can make those as often as I want for him. No, Stanley, I'm not letting you back outside. He's got pseudo-spring fever right now, if anyone was wondering. When the weather starts to get about 40 degrees in the winter, Stanley thinks he lives outside. Yeah, I'm talking about you. So for my brown sugar, we're just going to get it nice and packed in here. Want to be careful. I'm using a plastic measuring cup, which I don't have a problem with them, but you got to be careful not to hold them too far back when you're trying to pack it in. I have snapped many a plastic measuring cup doing that. So just a little bit of care with it. So there's that. And then I need a half a cup of flour. Just dump it on in, leveling it off. And we'll give it a quick stir. It is a bit of a soft streusel, so it doesn't look super crumbly when I am done mixing it. But I do like the way this cooks up. This is, my dad's going to eat an apple pie. This is the way he wants it made. He actually prefers the Dutch apple version instead of the 2-pie crust. So yeah, you can kind of see it's not super crumbly, but it is manageable that I can just kind of pick it up and then just kind of, I self-crumble it onto here. And I hear a garage door opening. That means Rope Man will soon be entering the chat, or not the chat, the video screen. He must have found what he wanted at the liquor store. Yeah, and it will crumble a bit in the oven. You're absolutely right. When I make apple crisp, the topping that I put on that, it's a little drier so that it kind of looks crumbly right in the dish. A little brown sugar bean there that I didn't want. Just left there. Use my spoon to kind of clean this up. And if I feel like I need more crumble when I'm done with this, I'll just make more. Who said I would enter your stream? Oh, Rope Man. He's lurking, clearly. The reason I know he's going to enter the stream is he can't resist. Of course, that's a challenge to him, so now he will ignore the stream. Ooh, sour IPA called Strawberry Letter 23 beer. So good. I've never had a strawberry flavored beer that I can think of. Huh. Well, if I ever see it, I will give it a try. Yeah. And I know you can't see this on the video, but Stanley is standing in the entryway just staring at the door to our garage, waiting for Ropeman to appear so that he can pounce. And try and convince Ropeman that he's been an abused little puppy this afternoon. Yeah. He likes to lie about things, unfortunately. I know all of you love Stanley, but I hate to shatter the illusion. Stanley's a little liar. He lies about having eaten. He lies about having gone out. He lies about having any attention paid to him. Ropeman has entered the building, for anybody wondering. He brought in a whole box of stuff. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. Just means he has stuff to drink now, I guess. We're almost ready to put pie in the oven. Oh, come on, Ropeman. We need the dance. They're begging for it, my dear. Even though I think that's your stream special. I don't know if my stream is ready for something like that. Let's see. You know, half a recipe actually I think is going to be about perfect for the crumble. Get this all here, just a little bit left. A wild Stanley approaches. And I do mean wild. He is a wild and crazy little puppy, and he likes to pretend like he's a big, vicious 800-pound dog. I wouldn't want to see an 800-pound dog, though. Hi, I feel you. All right, we've got our crumble on here. Wash my hands. Oh, PBR? He's going to tease vaping with that. There you go. The Ropeman has returned, and he brought PBR into the house. Okay. Now we are going to trim off my pie crust edges. So I just take a knife right along the side here. And trim it up nice and even. If I was doing a two-crust pie, I'd be sealing it together, but since it's just a one crust, I get to skip that step, which the less I have to mess with pie crust dough, the better. I consider this a victory that I didn't at one point throw this entire thing into the garbage and start over, because that is way too common of an occurrence with me with pie crust dough. What usually happens is I start rolling it out, and it crumbles when I go to put it into the pie plate. And so then I try to re-roll it, and then it's so tough that it won't roll out at all, and I have to start over. So we've avoided that step today. Hooray. One thing we will have to do is protect these edges from burning. So in order to do that, I'm going to crumple some aluminum foil along the edges here. All right, so I'm just going to take little strips of aluminum foil. And this roll is almost dead, so I got to be careful here. Get about halfway around. This just keeps the edges of the pie from burning. You don't have to do it, but I don't want my crust to get overly cooked here, so we're going to do this. Let's see. I used to have a way of doing this. There we go, like that. Holding it together, and then just kind of loosely tenting it around the pie crust, and then I'll take this off about 2/3 of the way through the baking, and then that way the rest of the pie crust can get nicely browned. Oh, you're gonna scram a few and dancing on rope streams only. Yeah, well, and vaping too. You know, I know you have the video image of him dancing, so you're free to play that as much as you want, as much as it hurts my eyes sometimes to see it. You got to give the people what they want, I guess. And for some reason, they want the thumbs up dance from Rope Man. So I'm glad someone out there appreciates it. And I think he likes that someone else appreciates it too. I'm going to keep tearing off little strips of aluminum foil here. Oops. It's fine. That one tore a little bit, but it should be good. So when I make a big pie crust, I actually have a metal pie ring that I just put on top of my pie plate that takes care of this problem, so I'm not wasting all of this aluminum foil. And you've got just enough here. And if any of you see me laughing, it's because Rope Man is off stream taunting me with his dancing. So if you want to see Rope Man dance, he is going to be streaming after we have dinner this evening. I think his goal is approximately 7 o'clock to go live. Just have to see how the evening flows here for us. These. There we go. This is the crust I'm most worried about. This is the one I rolled out really way too thin probably. So it's at the highest risk of burning. Ooh, look, a wild Rope Man on camera. As he tosses some stuff away. Like the good, responsible husband that he is, cleaning up after himself. Ooh, is that bourbon? Bourbon whiskey single barrel. Let's see. Here. This is his purchase of the day. I don't know how well you can see it. My light is starting to go a little bit. I didn't set up my ring light because it was plenty bright in here when I started. So, interesting. Did they let you taste that?
No.
Okay.
It's barrel strength as well, so
it's gonna be strong.
116 proof.
Woo! Rope Man gonna get drunk if he's drinking that tonight.
I'm drinking PBR.
You're drinking PBR on screen tonight?
No, right now.
Oh, right now. Well, yeah, I mean, that tracks. Getting there. And then when I go ahead and put these in the oven, I'm actually just going to get a cookie sheet and set them all on top of the cookie sheet to make it easier to get them in and out of the oven.
For lighting, does that help?
I think that's good. Thank you for adding that. Appreciate it. He's trying to be helpful. Trying to make me having to take back all of the things I said about him while he was gone.
What do you mean trying?
Help. Sometimes help is not help. If you're offering your help, you succeeded this time. He didn't like that I said he just tried. Although he is taking care of Stanley at the moment, so that's always helpful. Not gonna lie. Stanley is definitely a two-parent puppy. All right, we've got our cookie sheet here. Transfer our pies onto this. Stagger them a little bit. All right, and for the Dutch apple, I actually cook it just a little bit cooler than the two-crust pie. I'm going to drop the oven temperature 250. Normally I would wait a little bit for it to cool off, but I just actually opened the oven up. By the time I get this all in and situated, it's probably going to have had a chance to cool off, so I'm not overly concerned about this.
Is it ready yet?
You can't eat raw pie. He's going to ask me that for probably like the next half hour. Help by getting out of the way. That's what vaping says. He says help, or not vaping, Drew. He says help by getting out of the way.
Drew is right.
Drew is right. You heard it here. Drew is right. Roadman said so.
So that's about his choice of football teams.
Oh, he's slamming the Bills, right? I believe that's Drew's team is the Buffalo Bills.
That would be correct.
See, I pay attention. All right, so this recipe normally takes an hour to bake in the oven. With them being mini pies, I anticipate them cooking a little bit faster. So I think I'm going to set my timer for about 20 minutes and see where we're at. Okay, do a little bit of cleanup here. I swear I did dishes before I started, but if you could see the countertop behind me, you might not agree.
I don't agree.
Roadman never agrees on those things. Unless I'm asking him to eat something, and then he agrees just fine. Alright, let's rotate this a little bit. We're going to go back to rolling out pie dough. Let's see. Alright, so even though I'm going to freeze these, I am still going to get a cookie sheet out to put them on as I get them formed. And we'll cover it with some parchment paper to keep it from sticking.
What do you need me to taste test?
There's nothing to taste test.
Why not?
Because pie takes time. You can't rush it.
Fine.
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 Just fine.
Fine.
He's sulking. Hi, by the way.
Hi.
So I do like to use throwaway parchment paper when I'm doing pie stuff because it can get pretty sticky. When I'm making a traditional two-crust pie, I will usually put a piece of parchment paper on a cookie sheet, put the pie on the cookie sheet. That way, if it does happen to bubble over, it's not a big deal. It doesn't make a mess and burn onto the cookie sheet. I ruined a few of my mom's cookie sheets that way growing up, so don't need to do that. Now that I know how expensive a good cookie sheet is. Get my flour spread out here. So the writer of this recipe says to make 6-inch pie circles. That just seems really big to me. I don't really want pie, hand pies that big, so we're going to do just a little bit smaller. We're going to use one of my biscuit cutters, which is actually probably just right around 5, no, it's almost 4 inches. Yeah, so it's about 4 inches. So we'll just adjust how much pie filling we put in. She says for 5-inch pie circles, you can do a tablespoon. We'll just underfill a tablespoon and call it good. You do want to be careful not to overfill the hand pies because you get too much in there as it cooks, it's going to burst open and create a mess everywhere. Oops, so I dropped things. Okay. I am going to divide this into half before I roll it out just to make it a little bit more manageable. Plus, my pastry sheet here isn't that big, so I don't think it would actually fit on there if I just did it all at once here. So, got good texture, so hopefully that's a good sign. Just wrap this back up. Nice thing with a granite countertop is it's cold, so even though I'm leaving out my pie crust, it's still actually staying somewhat cold by leaving it on my counter. All right, so I'm gonna push this into a little bit more of a circle since I pulled it off in half. Kind of flatten it out, get a little flour on it. A little flour on my rolling pin. And just start rolling it out. Again, taking it, flipping it over as I go. Actually, it's still a little bit tough. I probably could have let it warm up a little longer. So it's possible that second batch we're going to do here might just roll out a little bit easier. Just keep going here. You want to have it rolled out pretty thin. And mine's starting to split in half. That's okay. It's fine. This is usually what happens when I'm trying to make pie crust to go on a pie plate, and then it never fits in the pie pan because it's broken like that. So this is just kind of par for the course for me. Add a little bit more flour here. Stanley has joined me again at my feet as usual. I'd like to say he's here because he cares. He's here because he wants stuff. Yeah. As he looks at me all innocent, he's like, no, I just want you. I love you. I do love that little dog, though. I mean, I joke about it, but I truly do. He is a good little dog. He probably helped keep Rope and I sane during the COVID pandemic when he was stuck here at home for months on end, and I was going into work every day, stressing out because everyone wanted me to know everything about COVID, and the information was literally changing by the day for us, and we were struggling to keep up with all of it. Okay. My beautifully unevenly rolled pie crust. So I think I'm going to get a little bowl. So I'm going to put a little flour into this bowl. Mainly I want to be able to put some flour on my biscuit cutter. And I don't want to keep putting it back into my flour dish and getting bits of pie dough in there and ruining my flour. Okay. I'm going to try and put these as close together as I can without wasting too much pie filling. There you go. That's not bad. There you go. We'll see how many I get out of this. I might try to do a second rolling out of it. That doesn't always go real well, I will be honest. So pie dough does tend to get tough the more you work it. No more Bills talk until the draft. Another wide right. You know, so as a Viking fan, wide right isn't the problem. Wide left, I think, is usually what would happen. Or, you know, we had to suffer through the Gary Anderson missed field goal in the NFC Championship game, the only field goal he missed that year. So I still have pain many, many years later from that. Let's see. Just going to keep kind of going in a circle here and seeing how many I can cut out of this. So it's kind of all a guess to me as to how many I'm actually going to get out of this recipe. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. Can I get one more maybe? So I've got 5. If I can get 6 off of each piece I roll out, I'm probably going to be pretty happy with that. Okay. All right, we are making progress here. We're just about halfway done with our hand pie dough. Unwrap the other half. And I'll save the little bit of dough I had left. I'm not entirely sure that I am going to use it or not. We'll see. I think the recipe said this would make 8 6-inch hand pies, and I'm going 4-inch, so I probably should have more than 6 out of it, but we shall see. Keep adding some flour. Put that little bit in there so it's out of the way. All right. As I said, rolling out pie crust is a great way to take your aggression out on things. It's partly why I bake and craft, because I can cause destruction to things and have beautiful things come out of it and not get in trouble for it. Plus, the other thing that I like about baking and crafting is I do have to pay attention to what I'm doing. So it's a good way for my brain just kind of forget about the stresses of the day that I had at work, or if there's something personal going on, and just kind of shut that part of my brain off and focus on something completely unrelated. Getting there on this one. Starting to approach the edge of the pastry sheet here, so I'm going to make sure to roll the opposite direction so that I don't roll it off the edge. It's just what Stanley's waiting for, of course, is, you know, a piece of pie dough to fall on the floor that he can eat. Yeah, I'm talking about you, little pup. Okay. Get our biscuit cutter out once again. Just start moving our way around here. Yeah. Go this direction. I think I may have created a little bit too much of a bump there to be able to use, but we'll see. I suppose I could always turn that into a smaller hand pie if I wanted to. I do have smaller biscuit dough cutters. I've got another 6 here. Nope, it's not going to turn into anything there, so I'm going to collect all my remnants. I am going to try and roll it out one more time just to see what happens. If it's pretty tough, though, I'll just call it good. I see you, little puppies. I do, I do. That doesn't mean I'm going to give you anything, though. Yeah. His opinion, if you see him, you should give him stuff. He does like stuff. Stuff, 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 stuff. Laying those all there. Let's just see what happens. Now, one thing I am going to do if it gets a little tough, sometimes if you sprinkle a little water into your hands when you're reforming it, that can add some moisture to it, but it seems pretty soft. So let's see what we can do with this. I don't like to waste, so if we can, you know, make 3 or 4 more pies, why not? And so far it seems to be rolling out halfway good. Not really any tougher than the other rounds that I did. Let's keep flipping it over. It's always best to kind of work from the center out. Sometimes if your dough is a little soft or a little firm, it's harder to do that. But yeah, this is actually working pretty darn good. Okay. Get a few more going. I think I can maybe get 4 off of this. Let's see. Oh, I love it when I'm right. 4. Okay, I'm not going to do another round of it. I don't want it to be too tough, so we're just going to toss that little bit away. All right. I am going to get another cookie sheet out, though. Yes, Stanley, you shall soon get attention, I promise. Pies are looking good. Just took a little peek there. You don't need the brown sugar anymore, so I'm going to get that out of the way. Hydrate. Oh. All right, water bottle down. Hydration complete, puppy. I have a lot of dishes ahead of me for this, but that is okay. The reward is pie, so we can make all the dishes that we want if we get pie out of it. Okay. Again, moving some stuff out of the way, clearing some space here so that I can work. So we got 16 pies. I think that's a pretty good start for my first time through the recipe, just in case it's terrible. But I think it would be pretty hard to have terrible pie. It would take a lot to ruin it. Okay. So I can tell the second round of pies that I made are a little bit thicker. Not surprising considering I had a little tougher time rolling it out. So I'll just have to remember that when I go to bake them, that they will just take a little bit longer to bake and might be a little thicker crust. Okay. And now, the other thing I like about this is I can just contain all the flour on it, and I have a much easier cleanup of my island. I don't have tons of dough stuck to my surface. So, and that thing cleans up super easy. I just clean it with some soap and water, let it dry, and it is ready to go for next time. Okay, we've got our pies. We've got our cooled pie filling here. I think I'm just going to use a little spoon here and spoon the filling into each one. And I just heard my oven give me the 1 minute warning, so I will be pausing here and giving that a check once it alerts again. I think I can see why this person's recipe called for a 6-inch pie. A tablespoon of pie filling is really not that much. I hear the clippity-clop of puppy feet approaching. Stanley does tend to like to show up when I'm taking stuff out of the oven. What if I would drop it? But we're not going to do that. We're not going to drop pie like Rope Man did. I'm going to give it about another 10 minutes before I take those covers off. No, there's not pie ready yet for you, Rope Man. I'm just telling you preemptively because I assumed you were going to come over and ask me if you could eat pie. Yes, dear. I love you. Oh, hey, Star-Lord. Glad you could join in. How's your voice? Ropeman is standing here like an impatient child just waiting to get what he wants. Now he's stomping his feet if you can't hear that. He's going to probably start throwing a temper tantrum here before too long. You'll get pie when I say you get pie. And not a minute sooner. And yes, I'm torturing him if anyone was wondering. Yeah, I tell you what, Star-Lord, when you're if you have to be on the phone all day, that's rough. I coughed myself hoarse last winter with pneumonia, and my job was mostly on the phone at that time. I told my boss, I'm like, I can do stuff, I said, but I can't be on the phone. Like, there is no way I can, spend that much time talking to people. I won't have any voice left. And she was kind enough to be able to find me work that did not require me to be talking to a whole lot of people. So I'm very grateful that I had that option. Hopefully it's getting better here and you'll be back to full strength before you know it. Oh, composting. Drew, that's one thing that I don't do is compost. I probably should. I usually buy bags of compost and throw it in my garden. It would probably be much better fertilizer for my tomatoes if I made my own compost. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. I don't want to overfill these. I'm afraid that they'll explode, especially since I'm not as familiar with this recipe. So I'm going to call it good right there. All right. Now we need a little bit of an egg wash. Got my egg. And mix that with about a tablespoon of water. Alright, give that a little bit of a whisk. That's right, I believe that it is. Rope man, you can demand pie all you want. We've had this conversation before. I will hide all the pie from you and you won't get any. We'll see how he responds to that. That'll probably anger him. So I do apologize, Chad. Anyone who's jumping in on Rope Man's stream later tonight, if he's surly, you know what happened. He angered the wife and he didn't get any pie. Alright, got a nice egg wash there. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this and dab it around the edges of my pie dough. I want to make them nice and sticky so that they stick together. Puppy, you can whine all you want at me. I'm not giving you anything. So Stanley's favorite thing to do if I'm ignoring him when I'm in the kitchen is he goes to our stairs, which are just right next to it. He lays on the bottom step, curled up in a ball, and he hangs his head off of the step and just looks completely pathetic. And he used to be able to convince me to come over and snuggle him when he did that. And now I've learned over time that if I give in to him all the time, it's like a toddler. You just can't give in to him everything he wants. Would you send him to bed without dessert? He would just probably sneak down in the middle of the night and eat it. But he, as long as he doesn't cause too much of a temper tantrum, he will get pie. Takes usually a few hours for pie to chill. Little pie, I don't know how long that'll take to cool. We'll see. It's all new to me at this point, so I like trying new things for my cooking. Especially with desserts, so many of them are just giant. It's like dessert for 20 people and there's 2 of us. I can take stuff to work, but eventually I'd like to be able to just make a small amount of things just for us for certain desserts. Although my coworkers will never turn down sweets. Once I get this egg wash on the edges here, I'm going to go ahead and fold them over. I have a feeling I might have added a little too much liquid to this. We'll see. It does have cornstarch at least, so it should thicken up upon cooking. Okay, we'll get them folded over and sealed. And then if I was going to bake them tonight, I would have to chill them for about another 10 minutes in the fridge before baking them so that they were nice and cold. Since I'm going to freeze them, I think I'm going to start them off in the refrigerator and then I'm going to eventually just take the whole cookie sheet and put it into my freezer for an hour. That should get a good freeze on them, and then I'll just bag them up into a freezer bag for whenever I want to make them. And then Rope Man can have pie on demand.
I heard I can have pie?
No, not now, in the future.
Oh.
Yeah, I just destroyed his feelings. Not the first time, won't be the last, unfortunately. All right, time to fold these babies in half. Let's see here. Here, a little visual room here for everybody to see what I'm doing. Yeah, definitely think I'm going to have to work out the top-down cam. I've seen some people do it. I think they usually just kind of have a clamp on their island and focusing down, so someday. Someday.
Do you need some help?
Do I need some help? Do you want to try and angle the camera so people can see what I'm doing? I don't know how well that'll work.
I thought I was going to give everybody the thumbs up dance, but if you want me to do the camera, I mean...
I don't know. Is there anyone left in chat that wants to see a thumbs up dance?
I hope not, because I'm not doing it.
Oh, okay.
So what do you need me to do?
You want to try and angle the camera so that they can see a little bit more what I am doing with my pies. There you go. You can do that. So it does look like I got a little too much filling, a little too much liquid in here. So some of it, it's going to make a mess. It's just going to make a mess. That's the way it is.
Everybody get a good look? This is heavy.
Yes. Okay, go ahead and put it back down. Thank you. Very much appreciated. See, you can be helpful.
Duh.
You can do more than just try. You can succeed. So I'm just going to do that, crimping each of them just with the fork, as you could see there, making a good tight seal. Some of them that I got a little too much pie filling on, I am pulling out a piece or two of the apples. So, memo for next time, make the pies a little less full. Don't need quite as much filling. Yeah, I thought this recipe was crazy when it said a tablespoon for a 5-inch pie, and nope, they were pretty spot on for that. So, yes, I do hear my timer going off. I'm just going to finish sealing up this one and get those taken care of. Yeah. Oh, the pie smells really good, Rope Man. But no, it's not time for pie yet.
I have a dog.
Oh, you do have a dog, huh? So, trying to take these aluminum foils off without burning my fingers. I've learned over the years that trying to use a tongs just makes a bigger mess of it, so. Kind of grab with my fingernails and gently pull. We're going to cook them in short bursts for right now, mainly because I don't know exactly how long those pies are going to take to finish up. So while that's going, we're going to go back to making our sealed pies here. So as I'm doing this, I'm kind of pushing the pie filling back to the center when I get to the outside. Almost halfway done. It's very messy. I'd almost be curious, instead of doing them in circles, I've seen people make them more like a toaster strudel shape, just pushing them into like a rectangular or square shape. I could see that being easier and yet a little bit more challenging because I can't cut in straight lines. I can barely walk a straight line some days. Let's see here. So this crimping method that I'm doing, this is very similar to what I would do with a 2-crust pie. Just sealing it together with a fork. You can also pinch it together. I do find, I personally have more success getting them to seal with the fork method here. So, got half of them done. Moving on to the next pan. This has the second batch that I rolled out or re-rolled out from the scraps, and I can definitely tell it's a little thicker. I hear a Wild Stanley approaching again. Yeah, learning points for next time. Definitely go the larger size. Imagine that the recipe was right. But you know what? You live and you learn. First time, trial and error. That, and I would dramatically cut back the amount of pie filling I made. Definitely didn't need nearly as much as what she recommended. So, we'll see. Hopefully these are good by the time we make them. I feel like I'm wasting so much pie filling. Yeah, I might actually take the pie filling that I have. I might freeze it for another day. We could also make some kolache in the future and do some apple pie filling in those. That would probably be really good. Okay. Just learning very quickly that I probably should have put only about a teaspoon of filling into these. Okay, they are all crimped. Couple more steps to go here. All right. Hey, Boob Punch, thanks for jumping in. I just noticed you were in here. I was way too focused on crimping these pies together. Okay. Do some moving around of these. I'm betting I can fit them all on one cookie sheet now that I have them crimped. So from here, I need to add another layer of egg wash and then make some holes in them, and that will allow air to escape when they do bake and keep them from exploding, I hope. I did make quite the mess on here. Holy cow. Those did not crimp together at all. Let's squish them. Squish them, squish them, squish them. Yay! All right, they all fit on one. Woo! All right, what order do I do this? Fold over, make seal, make vents, add egg wash. All right. So we can do the vents a couple of different ways. One way, you can just stab your fork on here through the pie topping. You can do like 3 of those. Make sure you don't go all the way through. You don't want your pie filling to leak out of the bottom. So I'll do this for like half of them. And then you can also use a knife and you could make some slashes across it too. Okay, done. Puncture holes in half. They are getting close. They still need to brown just a little bit more. Not much though. Okay. So now for the other ones, I'm just going to make some little slashes through the top. Let's see how easy this works. You can go like that. Go like that. I think I like the diagonal better. That looks pretty. Personally, I don't think it's probably going to make any difference in baking if I did the slashes or the fork punctures, but sometimes it is about appearance. Okay, there we go. Back to the egg wash. It's acceptable. I really appreciate everybody hanging out with me this afternoon while we muddle our way through my pie baking attempt here. Pies and I really just have a love-hate relationship. I love to eat them. I try to make them, and the crust just always finds some new fun way to torture me. So nice and light egg wash. This will give it a nice color when you're done or when you're baking it. You could also sprinkle a little bit of sugar on it if you want a little bit of a crunch. I might do that with some of them and just see what I think of that when it's cooked up. My intent is that I will air fry these when I do take them out of the freezer, but ooh, I forgot to puncture one of these. Let's go back. 1, 2, 3. Okay, problem fixed. It's fine. It's fine. I noticed it before we threw it in the freezer. We're good. Definitely the diagonal slash was the better way to go. Just looks nicer. I don't think it's actually any better in the long run. Just looks better. No, I already brushed that one. Okay. Alright. So, as I said, I'm just sprinkling some sugar on top of the egg wash. Adds a little sweet crunch to them as they are baking. What the heck, we're just going to put it on all of them. And yes, I do hear the timer going off. Okay. Oh, they are done. We have pie coming out of the oven. They look gorgeous as far as color. Appearance of the crust, well, if I was getting judged on appearance, I might not get a perfect 10, but here. There we go. Now, you know, I need to really figure out how to make this work better, but you get the idea. There is the pie for Roatman. They will have to cool a few hours, so I estimate he might not be able to eat them until he's like midway through his stream tonight. And if he is, maybe he'll even eat it on camera for you and torture y'all with that. But now that we've got those out of the oven, I've got my other pie crusts formed, sprinkled sugar on. They're ready to go in the freezer. I think we are going to go ahead and get ready to wind this down and find someone to write into. But before we go, I wanted to thank everybody for jumping in and supporting me. I very much appreciate everyone, your support, your feedback. You were all so wonderful with my first stream. I felt like I really wanted to come back and do another one. I wasn't intimidated by it. So hopefully I'll just keep getting a little bit more comfortable. Maybe next time I'll have my chat figured out so you can all see what's going on with that. So I do apologize for not being able to see things on my screen. But again, thank you all for coming. Roatman will be starting his stream about maybe an hour, hour and a half, somewhere in there. Just depends on how quickly we can have things cleaned up so that we can make our dinner. But again, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. I don't know exactly when I'll be back again. Hopefully next Friday, kind of around the same time, maybe 3 o'clock. It's a good time for me. I get off work at 12:30. It gives me time to have lunch and clean up. So I will see y'all then. Thank you. Get some music here for you on our way out.